It's the SKOR North Twins Show. Baseball.
We are back. No, we're not back. One win for the Twins, though. Joe Ryan shoves, and the Twins figure out a way to win a ball game. How about that, huh? They scored some runs. They got an excellent pitching performance from their starters and their bullpen.
We are back.
You know, what have I been saying mostly all season? Don't let the Twins get hot. Well, maybe if you win back-to-back games for the first time in, a month, maybe I can start uttering that phrase. But we're still far away from getting back to the Twins being hot. Speaking of being hot, Grandpa's Barbecue Shop. Okay, you want some little hot sauces. You want your hot dry rubs. There's plenty of great options at Grandpa's Barbecue. Every Twin Show listener too gets free shipping on orders $50 or more. I saw our guy Dave in Duluth use some for Father's Day a few weekends ago. And every time you buy something from Grandpa's Barbecue, it helps xeroderma pigmentosum, which is a rare genetic disorder that affects people with UV light. So go to grandpa'sbarbecueshop.com to support a good cause and stock up on some great barbecue. Well, boys, let's do some latest Twins news. I was talking to some people around earlier this week when the Mariners series began. Twins wrapping things up today against Seattle before hitting the road. They'll have Detroit this weekend. I was digging on the last homestand. This is the Twins will be on Sunday Night Baseball on Sunday against the Tigers. It's their first time on Sunday Night Baseball in 5 years. That was the pandemic year. They're playing the Cubbies in 2020. And the Sunday Night Baseball has not been in Minnesota since Target Field opened in 2010. So I know wild. Isn't that crazy? They were here like 3 times, I think, that year. Mm-hmm. And even when the All-Star game was played here in 2014, which is an ESPN production, they never came here like prior to that or during that season, like for build-up. So there's been an All-Star game played in Target Field since the last time Sunday Night Baseball was in Target Field, which is crazy. It's crazy.
If you go back to the 90s, shockingly, they also bailed on the Twins. So like Sunday Night Baseball in the last 30 years has probably done about 6 Twins games. Like, it's remarkable.
When did they do one last year? Like, I'm trying to think of the last time that they did any period on the road, any sort of.
No, it's the first Sunday Night Baseball game for the Twins in 5 years.
Okay.
And I think, and they haven't been back because I checked with my crack research department, aka Andrew Halverson, who runs the broadcast, and Mitch Hested, who is one of the PR guys there, and they were hard at work for me to dig up these clues. And apparently how it works is like Fox gets the first dibs on stuff. Then I believe it's ESPN. Then you got Apple and Roku. So with this whole big TV deal that they got to figure out long term, just crazy that they had. I mean, I was a junior in high school in the start of the 2010 season. I'm now 32 years old and married and have a mustache, for God's sake. So a lot can change in that sense.
It's funny though, because Sunday Night Baseball for a long time, as we all know, is like really special. Like, to me, it became the marquee more so than Fox.
You said
it
or was? You said it was.
It was.
Emphasis on was really.
It was the marquee baseball game of the week. I felt nationally for a long time, and then in the last 5+ years, it's just like another game.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, who was it? Man, I was having a conversation with someone like last month about 1999. There was a Sunday Night Baseball game that they advertised for like 2 weeks, which is tough because they were advertising the pitching matchup. But they had looked at like, holy crap, Roger Clemens is going to be on the mound for the Yankees and Pedro Martinez on the mound for the Red Sox. And it was either 99 or 2000. It was like in that era. And it was appointment viewing. Like the nation sat down to watch this pitching matchup. And that's like ancient history now, 25 years ago. But it is kind of crazy how, I mean, it's cool that they're going to be back on Sunday Night Baseball, and that's awesome. But it is kind of crazy, too, that Sunday Night Baseball is no longer the appointment viewing. You sit down with your family to watch a baseball game like it was not that long ago, I guess.
Yeah. Hey, so let's get back to what I first teased off the show. So I talked to Derek Falvey on Monday. Now this was about 2 hours before first pitch, and on the same day when Dan Hayes of The Athletic reported that Rocco Baldelli's contract his option had been picked up for 2026. I asked Falvey in that meeting, 4 hours prior to that news breaking, just on the state of Rocco, on the coaching staff. And, some of those same quotes you saw in some outlets and whatnot were kind of reiterated to me that, they still like the process and progress. And he doesn't want a 3-week sample, which is what he used, a 3-week sample, not last year's collapse, not, really using the whole totality of what we're looking at here, but the last 3 weeks to make any rash decisions. He's still heavily involved with those meetings with Rocco and with other coaching staffs and whatnot. But he still believes a lot in this group and doesn't want to just completely pull the plug and go in a different direction. So I know that option being picked up wasn't necessarily picked up 72 hours ago. It was likely picked up weeks and likely months ago. But still, Falvey not ready to pull the plug yet on this thing. He wants to see this long term.
Is he too attached to the staff that he has assembled here? And I guess let me back up a step and say, how much of the Twins losing since the halfway point of last year, and even I would say the underachievement compared to the talent and the roster that they've had over the course of 3 or 4 years, save for the one playoff series victory, how much of that is personnel, player issues in terms of they just don't have the right skill sets? We talked a lot with Plouffe about speed and athleticism and being able to go first to third or take a base instead of just station to station baseball waiting for a 3-run home run. How much of that is on the scouting and personnel and drafting departments versus, hey, we got some talented dudes in the door here. They're not being developed the right way by the field staff. I think it's kind of a rhetorical question because I don't know that we have the answer. We're not behind the curtain.
Right.
But to say blindly that everything's great, it just hasn't come to fruition yet, despite having cornerstone pieces in theory on paper, Carlos Correa, Byron Buxton, Pablo Lopez, Joe Ryan, etc. There's something off. If you've got an incredible manager and an incredible president of baseball operations and an incredible field staff and development system, why are you playing so poorly over the past 12 months? Bad luck? I mean, a couple injuries, yeah, but a couple injuries don't derail you to the point where they've been the last 12 months.
They 100% believe it's bad luck. I would say bad luck and unfortunate timing of injuries. I remember I had a couple conversations too with just people around the organization and players. I mean, the Tigers right now have been awesome, right? They're maybe the best team in the American League. They're a slow team. They don't steal bases. Yeah. Now their offense is badass, and they're able to get people over. And their pitching staff, they have probably the best pitcher on top with Skubal, but they don't, they don't have a lot of speed. But also at the same time, they have been able to develop this really nice team that's finally coming to fruition, right? I think they mostly look at it as it's just unfortunate timing with some injuries. I mean, they've gotten, even though he looked like he was turning things around, they've gotten 0 contributions from Royce Lewis, who they thought would be a cornerstone MVP guy. He went from a guy who was hitting playoff home runs and tanks and these awesome homers to a dude at this point of the year was batting 9th, so they look at this as just unfortunate. Now, to Phil's point about developing, yeah, I think there's something there. I think there's something in that sauce. It's not as simple and black and white as injuries, but they look at the Tigers and say, well, how come they can do that and we aren't being able to do the same thing and have the same results?
But they don't find a Skubal. That's their thing too. You
or
have
develop
to
develop.
Right. Draft one, develop one, find one. I don't care how. But you know what so I've been thinking about this just from a big picture perspective of where this team has gone. And I think I've honed in a little bit on the real problem here too, because success in sports can be big things, but it also can be sort of nuanced between the lines. And where the Twins have completely fallen on their face? So 2019 was great, and 2019 also did a fantastic job of taking advantage of a lot of the things at that time that allowed you to succeed. The baseball was juiced. You had power. And it was. I mean, 2 weeks ago, Andrew McCutchen tweeted that the commissioner of baseball had told him, we've slowed the baseballs down. We've raised the seams to create more drag for less home runs. But anyway, what the Twins have done too is, in the last 3 years or so, baseball has said, okay, we need to adjust our game to make it more exciting if there aren't home runs, right? We're going to make the bases bigger. We're going to say pitchers can throw over twice, and that's it. Think about this. How many of those things have the Twins said, okay, you know what? We have to adapt. Sports is all about adapting and saying 2019 now might as well have been 20 years ago as far as where the game is going. So what we need to adapt. And whether we're athletic and fast or not, we need to find ways, again, nuanced ways to take advantage. And they haven't at all. And yes, that can be attributed a little bit, I think, to how Rocco runs a game, but it starts way above him. And it's not really discussed much. But like Rob Manfred and his folks have put into motion to say, how can we make the game more exciting? And the Twins are like, no, we're good. 2019, we're good. And the power is not as important, but there's just a lot of things that the Twins don't do that baseball is now encouraging. And that, to me, is concerning from an evolution standpoint.
Yeah, like 2019 was, in the moment, I'm sure, very validating for a new front office, year 3. This is the vision we set out for. We are going to preach, forget about singles, forget about moving a runner over. Like, we are going to hit bombs. And they did it more than any team in baseball history. But obviously the baseball was different. A lot of teams had historic power seasons that year and players. And since then, the Twins haven't been a train wreck. There's a whole pitching conversation here too. They haven't been a train wreck offensively. It's not like they've been bottom 5 and just have like no ability to push runs across. Since 2019, they've been fringe top 10 run scoring offense a couple times. They've been right around or slightly below league average a couple times. This year, they're below league average. But they've kind of been between like the 10th and 20th best run scoring offense. But to piggyback off Judd's point, to me, it's more about the stance you're taking, either in the players that you are sending up to the big league squad, either via development or the players that you're looking to sign in free agency or trade for, and your general overall philosophy. Because what you're saying is, let's use stolen bases again, all right? You're saying we don't believe in stealing bases. Maybe a little bit. They have 37 stolen bases in, what is it?
80 games. 80 games. Today's 81. Today's 81.
So we're at the halfway point here.
Mm-hmm.
So about once every other game, they might stumble into a stolen base. Whereas the Tampa Bay Rays have 104 stolen bases. The Brewers, who just cleaned your clock last weekend, have 97. The Cubs, who are one of the best teams in baseball, 96 stolen bases. They've also created the personnel on their rosters to be able to do so and be more aggressive at doing those things, right? But you've said organizationally, either consciously or by mistake, if you thought you would steal more bases, but you made some personnel mistakes, that you don't believe in that, okay? Taking the extra base. We talked about that with Plouffe the other day, too. The Twins are at the bottom of the league and taking the extra base in situations that warrant it. So if philosophically you've either decided consciously or by mistake that you don't believe in these other ways of moving runners over and potentially scoring runs, manufacturing runs, you need to be so good at the other ways to score runs. Okay, I'll grant you that. The Oakland A's in the early 2000s, analytically, we do not steal bases. The Moneyball Oakland A's. We are not going to risk wasting an out on the base paths. But on the flip side, we're going to draw the most walks. We're going to hit bombs. We're going to have guys up and down the lineup, right? So it's like, I'm fine with being an extremist in terms of like the fringes of moving runners over not being a part of your weaponry. But then you need dudes who are at the halfway point of the season are sitting there with 15, 20 home runs up and down your lineup so that you can have a better chance to be closer to a top 5 offense if you aspire to win a World Series.
And that's where the difference from how come we can't be the Tigers? Why the Tigers are doing this? Well, they have Spencer Torkelson, who's finally figured it out, the former top pick who was playing in AAA baseball. We were at a game last year where he was playing for the Mud Hens. He's figured things out with 16 bombs. Riley Green's got 17 bombs. Kelly Carpenter's got 14 bombs there. Baez is finally woken back up from the dead after being one of the worst hitters in baseball for 3 years, and he's putting things together. So, yeah, they need to figure out going forward, like in 2026, what does our identity want to be? And I don't think it's hard to like flip the switch and just say we're gonna add 5 guys and we're gonna add 4 dudes that can steal 25 bags a year. Like that's not gonna happen. Like Luke Keyshaw coming back, I'm excited for that. He's gonna add some nice speed to the team, but you're not gonna find 4 Luke Keyshaws overnight necessarily. So finding an identity, I think, is obviously very big for them and what they can be good at going forward. I talked to Falvey too about the Devers trade because I just wanted his sense of, number one, were you as shocked as everyone else? And he related as you don't see star players really traded like that in season ever. And you certainly don't see the stars like that get moved on, what was that, June 15th now, 2 weeks ago. And even though it's a shocking trade and it's a trade you don't see coming, it still doesn't start spinning the wheel in terms of getting action going at the trade deadline. Baseball is still really stuck. And to his point, there's 11 teams, the AL, that are still within 3 games of the wild card race. So there's 3 legitimate sellers right now in the American League, and maybe there's only 6 in the entire Major League Baseball. But even though a shocking trade like that happens, they don't really see that as an opportunity to start striking. And even though they've been losing extra games too, teams have not even been calling the Twins, or at least they're not facilitating the phone call of, no, we're not interested in trading so-and-so. No, we're not interested in moving this guy. They still want to wait this out a little bit more. And to me, I think if you're a baseball team and you're heading in the wrong direction, I think you should start that sell-off instead of just waiting. I know it creates interest, and you want to build up that asset as much as possible into the deadline day. But they're still not ready to hit the sell button on a lot of these pieces that they could move.
But don't you think that if you do it now, you're not going to have as much of a mark? Like if the Twins are going to be sellers and you go out right now, you're not going to have because there's a bunch of teams that are right now that are kind of like, oh man, like we're kind of in that. Most teams are in that middle ground of we're fighting for a wild card spot. Like pretty much every team in the American League Central or West, they're like, well, we're pretty far back from the division lead. So are we a wild card team? Are we not? In the National League, it was tight for a while, but like the Padres and the Giants and the Diamondbacks are looking at the Dodgers now saying, all right, the Dodgers are kind of back now. They got like a 6-game lead in that division. So it's these wild card teams that are trying to figure out how aggressive do we want to be. They're not going to be nearly as what's the word I'm looking for? I don't think they're going to be as splashy now as they would be when there's a bidding war of 4 or 5 different teams in a month from now. So like fans, yeah, like, oh, just sell off now. Let's be emotional. Just pull the plug right now. But strategically, you want to create leverage, teams against each other bidding for your player services. Also, you've got some guys that have been non-productive, and maybe you could wait for them to heat up a little bit. I mean, I'd say Willie Castro would be a guy that if you could, if you could time his ascension right now, I would put him in a different category. But there's other guys where I would say I'd love for that guy to get a little hotter over the next 2 weeks before I shop him.
So I think in situations like this too, as we get towards the deadline, there's tiers of teams to call, like the Cubs. Okay, the Cubs are a World Series contender who could use starting pitching, but they definitely have some specific areas of need. And I think now is the time to start to lay the groundwork with those teams about a guy like Duran, for instance. If you think that, because I think there's a difference between a wild card hopeful and those trades that get made at the deadline and setting up trades at the deadline for teams that think that they can win a World Series. So, like, I think now is the time to be very proactive in hitting up those teams and saying, we know you're really good. We know that you need help here. Who are you prepared to part with? You don't pull the trigger, But I do think that if every contender, I guess the best way to put this is not created equal.
Yep. 100%.
So I'm calling the World Series teams right now and saying, hey, I know you're good, and we are shopping this guy.
But the Twins don't. Clearly, based on Declan's reporting here, the Twins think that there's just been a 3-week stretch of some bad, despite the fact that they are.
Oh yeah, I know.
They are 50 and 69. They're playing at a 68 win pace since early August of last year. So we're almost a full year. We're like a month away from having a full year sample of a mid 60s win pace here. And if you want to play the injury game, this is an analytically driven front office, right? And I love that to some extent. But okay, so you're trying to go from 68 win pace over 162 to closer to 90. So you're looking for 22 wins above replacement in the injury cracks, right? Okay, I'll give you Royce Lewis. If Royce Lewis is fully healthy, he goes from like a 0 WAR player to maybe like a 5 WAR player. Well, that gets you to 73, okay, in terms of pace. So I'll give you that one. Maybe 6 WAR player. That gets you to 74, okay?
Okay.
Well, Buxton's been wildly healthy, and so you're like tapping into the best version of Buxton.
Yep.
Carlos Correa, I'll give you that one too. Let's say Carlos Correa goes from, what's he been so far this year? He's been worth... Well, it's funny. Exactly replacement level, Carlos Correa.
Yeah,
0.
zeros.
His WAR has been 0. And he, at age 30, in his prime, the player that he's been for 10 years, he should be over the course of 6 months of a season, a full season, performing at like a 5 or a 6 win level. So even if you give that, which is maybe a stretch because he's also had foot and ankle issues and physically, okay, that gets you to like 79, maybe
Right.
80 win pace.
Are we allowing them the bad luck thing with injuries on guys who are just aging and still
That's the thing.
playing?
And like two team. I mean,
if Ty France is hitting really, really well, and it's unbelievable. I mean,
right. You can't project best case scenario. Hope is not a strategy.
Right.
The Correa thing, real quick, is, man, it's like when the first time they got him for the 1 year deal with the player options, it was like, oh, this just fell into their laps coming out of COVID. Great. Like anyone says yes, right? The second time, I think we all agreed, yes, say yes to this because it's only like a 6-year deal, and how bad could it really be? If you can just get 3 good years out of him, then it's probably worth it. But it was still very risky. 2 teams failed that dude's physical, the Giants and the Mets.
Yep.
And unfortunately, it's not like he's been sidelined with a direct, like it's a foot injury and he's out. He's played 69 games. But at clearly a lesser level than you're accustomed to, probably in part because he's not physically the same dude he was 3 years ago.
But
so it's like you have to bake that into your decision-making equation here.
But I mean, this just might be him too now.
I know.
Like
I think there's a better version of him to come in the second half, but
well, I'm just saying it might not be like bad luck. You can't blame bad luck on a decision that you made on a veteran player who, to your point, Phil, was failed by 2 teams physically.
But let's give them those. So there's your rough wins above replacement analytical math there. That okay, if Correa and Lewis were playing at the levels that they're supposed to, instead of playing at a 68 win pace over the last year, you'd be more like a 79 or an 80 win pace. Okay, still looking for about 10 more wins above replacement.
Yep.
And that's where you start to comb through and ask questions about Matt Wallner. What's going on there? Below average OPS plus. Like, that dude was one of the best hitters in baseball last year. Why is he regressing at age 27? You start looking at, I guess you could look at your second base situation where Cody Clemens is mostly taking snaps. And you got Edward Julian, who was one of your best hitters 2 years. Like, there's some development things in year 2. Where's Miranda? Where's Julian? Should Brooks Lee be a little bit better? Should Matt Wallner be better? And there's some guys that we've kind of questioned the last few days. So there's some luck, there's some injuries, but there's also just some organizational, gravitational pull toward bad baseball that needs to be addressed. And it's all behind the curtain, so we can't sit here and fully diagnose it. But it's interesting.
A few other things here on the SKOR North Twins Show. You can hit the like button and subscribe button.
Is that Twins news about the pole ad selling?
No, Judd, it's not, unfortunately. But it is Twins news with Declan here.
No,
Sounders fully loaded in now.
Those are crickets.
Duran's name.
Anybody got any Twins news?
I do have Twins news. I got this Twins news. Yohan Duran's name came in ESPN's ranking of deadline players. He's number 12 on this list. Chances of trade is 40%. Duran is one of the best relievers in the sport, this write-up says, from Jeff Passan and Kylie McDaniel, thanks to his nasty stuff headlined by a fastball that averages 100 miles an hour and a splinter that's at 97. He has 2 more years of team control after the season, so he'd demand a big trade package. Obviously, guys like Bader and France who are expirings, Willie Castro might be able to still maybe get you something of substantial nature. If you were to trade Duran, this would be the move that would net you a sizable return.
Yeah.
They got Duran from the Eduardo Escobar trade, 7 years ago now. That's turned into a great trade for the Twins. And look, if they can move France and Bader for a 15th to 20th ranked prospect, cool, awesome, that's great. If you move Duran, you're talking about potentially fetching 2 top 10 prospects and guys that you can stash in your system. In a system, by the way, that is looking pretty good, but adding more bullets, in my opinion, would be a good thing to do.
I think it makes perfect sense. I think either Duran or Jax, but you keep one, right? So you still got one. It just, to me, if you want to go in a direction, since we've spent the past 2 weeks complaining about the Twins personnel and the fact that they're not
the Twins period. Yeah.
Well, the Twins period, but the personnel in particular, and the fact that they're really not an athletic team. If you want to go in the direction of changing that, how do you change that? Well, like Declan just said, if you get 2 top 10 picks, guess what? That helps to change it. So I think it makes a ton of sense. I would not expect that Derek Falvey this week was going to come out and tell you guys, okay, here's the thing. It's not bad luck. We stink, and we're going to trade guys. So I think that if they're smart, I think you do that. I really do at this point, because if they have not determined that they have to change the face of how they look, how they play as a franchise, then we got huge problems. A Duran trade would help to alter that.
Yeah, where I will praise them too here, all right, after savaging them for 26 minutes so far in this episode, even though they won a game yesterday.
2 weeks, basically. Trust
yourself that you can develop relievers. There's no salary cap in baseball, but you're operating on a limited budget, even though fans hate to hear that because there's no salary cap. But the Twins are revenue-wise a mid to smaller market team, and so they're not going to. You're going to be like the 15th payroll in a good year, right? So spending $10+ million on a closer is more of a luxury, especially when you're not a team that's ready to win a World Series. So if you could leverage Duran into something of value, a position player that could help you on a more regular basis, or a starting pitcher, or both, and then trust that Louis Varland, who's been awesome this season, as we've kind of projected for a couple years now, who are the next guys in line that could sort of step in and become lights out relief pitchers for you. And I think Varland has proven, if you can, maybe you keep Jax and Louis Varland moves up a slot in your high leverage bullpen rankings. Cole Sands has kind of fallen off, but he showed flashes for a couple years. You can kind of find guys year to year if you do a good job developing them.
They've done a good job at that too. I mean, Duran was a starter in the minor leagues, and they brought him up to the Twins, and he became this electric super reliever. Griffin Jax was a failed starter, great reliever. Louis Varland, failed starter, great reliever. They traded for Brock Stewart when Stewart's been healthy. He's been a very effective reliever. I think long term, because he has the stuff. I don't really see Festa as a long term starting solution. I think he has great stuff though to be a reliever. So they've done a really good job at that. And look, finding and developing a Skubal, we say it as, why haven't they been able to do that? You're talking about the best pitcher in baseball. It's hard to do that. It's hard to just draft the dude and just say, well, now he's our ace and he's going to be Randy Johnson for the next 10 years. But they have done a better job at finding and cultivating pitching. I do think that is worth of some type of praise.
But Falvey was hired based on the whole Cleveland background of developing pitching. And okay, it doesn't have to be Skubal, but I think we can all agree this team should be doing a far better job of being able to cultivate and develop starting pitching through their draft process.
Yeah, I mean Joe Ryan was a trade, and
Yep.
and Joe Ryan when he's been healthy has been awesome.
Great trade.
So it hasn't been. There was a few years there where it was like nobody coming through the pipeline for like the first 5 years of the Falvey regime, and they've had to go out and find a Lopez via trade Joe Ryan, but Joe Ryan was a minor leaguer when they traded for him. I'm pretty sure. I think he was in AAA.
The Olympic team,
Yep.
I think at the time, yeah.
So they were like he was still young enough to where they were molding him. Bailey Ober, I know it's been rough the last month or so. So there's been some success stories, but yeah, I mean, when that's the thing, it's like you get a couple injuries, which happens in baseball all the time. Like 50+% of pitchers need Tommy John surgery now. And it's like you can't just have 4 reliable starters. If you want to win a World Series, you probably need like 7 guys that you would trust throughout the course of a season. And when Simeon Woods Richardson comes up and Festa comes up and they're just getting shellacked, it just makes you question the why. What's happening here? Are these just players that are not ready for it? Are they not being developed properly? What is it?
Judd, tell us about Stoked before we get to a random twin of the week here to wrap things up.
I will, because guess what, Dex? I want to tell you about barbecue season. BBQ season is here, and it's time then to stock up on Stoked Barbecue Pellets, a company based and operated right here in our great state. What am I talking about? I'm talking about 50-count fire starter buckets, 4-count fire starter bags, barbecue caddy, which is a must for the grill master in your life, Stoked solid oak firewood, perfect for your tabletop stove, easy to use 5-inch pieces, will burn for 3+ hours. You can find their products at Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores. Also check out their website, stokedbbq.com, to find their deal locator as well. But start your search for Stoked at Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores. Take advantage of barbecue season while it lasts.
Baseball.
All right, random twin of the week. By the way, if my mic goes out or if my mic gets weird, does it sound weird?
It's weird. Yeah, let's keep the music off. Yeah.
Got it. Kill the music. Random twin of the week. Here's your stats. Phil has 33 wins. Judd has 28 wins. I won last week with my 26th win with Matt Tolbert. Previous random twins have been Tolbert, Ruben Sierra, Terry Steinbeck, Lou Ford, Jim Tomey are some of the names. Some of the names we did from the beginning of this segment were Anthony Swarzak, Mike Redmond, Matt Lawton. So there's been plenty of random twins, but Judd has the clues this week. Let's see what he's got.
Wow. Where's he going to go? Old school, new school?
You don't know. This random twin was a 9th round pick in the MLB draft.
Okay.
Interesting skill set sports-wise, because he helped his high school win soccer and baseball state championships as a junior. So not football, but football and baseball.
Soccer action, huh?
He was, in fact, so good on the pitch that his coach suggested that he move to England to pursue a career in football. So his coach basically said,
You should go do it. Go play for
forget
Liverpool.
the standings, let's go table. Forget the field, let's go pitch.
Forget the coach. Let's go gaffer.
Gaffer! I love the gaffer. Okay.
Those terms.
In his senior year of high school in baseball, back to baseball, he hit .521 with 10 home runs.
Okay, that's my language. Got it.
Okay.
Got it.
During his collegiate career, he started as an Ironman, 181 consecutive games.
Wow.
That's in college, you said, right?
Yes, collegiate career.
Okay.
All right. After being picked by the Twins, as you recall, I said the 9th round, his signing bonus, $40,000.
Okay. That gives an era. A little era help there.
Yeah. This random twin has a World Series ring.
And it was by the Twins he was drafted, you said, right?
He was drafted by the Twins, yes. Yes, sir. $40,000 signing bonus, has a World Series ring. He spent 3.5 seasons riding the buses in the bushes of the minor leagues, advancing from Elizabethtown to Cedar Rapids to Fort Myers to Chattanooga to AAA Rochester. There's your clue.
We done this guy.
Oh,
we did do
man.
this guy.
Oh,
we did do this
man.
guy. World Series. No. No, hilarious.
All right.
Wow.
Your next clue. He made his Twins debut as a pinch hitter, and he struck out. That came in 2017.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
It's very new school. That's
No.
a pretty low signing bonus for a 9th-round pick.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
God.
And the guy who ultimately
cheap Pohlads, classic.
ultimately
cheap
spent a lot of
Pohlads.
time in, or had spent a lot of time in the big leagues. He played in 23 games with the Twins in 2017, but he only hit 196 and drove in 3 runs.
Oh, my gosh. Who is this? Oh, my gosh. Oh, God. This is some absolute... Wait, it's a World Series ring. Oh, who's this guy?
This random twin has now played for 3 teams. So he started with the Twins, and he's played for 2 teams subsequently.
Is he active still? In baseball, in Major League Baseball?
Yes, he's still active.
He
Still
played
active.
played that many years in college, so it's not this. It's not. Oh my gosh.
This next clue might help. This random twin hit a grand slam in Game 2 of the American League Division Series in 2023.
With
What?
He hit a grand slam in Game 2 of the American League ALDS in 2023.
Kyle Farmer? Didn't we do him?
Incorrect.
Oh my
Huge
gosh.
home run.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Okay, there's...
Wait. Okay. Yeah, that's a great clue. That's a great sneaky hidden clue. Were the Twins playing in that game?
No.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Done Kyle Farmer. Why did I say that?
This same reason I said Pat Williams.
Did hit...
Farmer.
No, he did.
Hey, I'm not. No stones from me, dude.
He hit a massive home run against the Astros in Houston, like a 3-run bomb.
Oh yeah. Okay. I'm
And
not.
You said ALDS.
Yes. But I'm not throwing any stones from this glass house after kissing Fat Pat with 9 touchdowns. Okay, we continue on.
Who's the other team?
Be prepared, because these next clues are basically going to give up the, I believe, answer. This random twin is slashing 208, 317, 308 in 44 games this season
Holy cow, dude.
with his 3rd team.
Yeah.
208, 317, 308 in 44 games this
But
season.
he hit a freaking granny.
He might be DFA'd at some point. That's been the rumor.
Oh boy.
Guesses? Because
No,
I'll
dude.
continue on. Okay. That right there,
This is like
that
such a
right
big
there
deal.
is quite a decline for a guy who hit 31 home runs and won a Silver Slugger in 2019.
Mitch Garver.
There
Yep.
you go.
Mitch Garver.
Nice
Yep.
job.
Mitch Garver.
Yeah.
He's in
Wow.
town. Mitch.
Holy
Mitch is in
cow.
town.
Mitch Garver. There it is. Wow. All right. Nice job. Dex on the board again here.
God.
2 straight. Back-to-back wins for Declan for the first time since Denny Hawking and Chuck Knobloch.
How did I not get Knobloch?
I figured, when you said the 2017, I thought he was a one and done twin. So I was like
Sure.
trying to rack like who,
Sure.
like he came up and then left. Yeah, Garv sauce. Garv sauce. All right.
Wow.
All
Good
right.
stuff. Nice job, Dex. Nice job.
27th
Battle of
win.
attrition here.
Thank you. Hit the like button, subscribe button, extra innings recap after things. I hope it actually happens. There's more rain in the forecast, so we'll see what happens. But an extra innings recap from Target Field later this afternoon, so be on the lookout for that. This is the SKOR North Twins Show.